A compromise with the mining industry will mean reducing what the government can deliver in future budgets, and uncertainty will remain for business on climate change, according to one of Australia's longest-standing business leaders. Dick Warburton chairs the government's Board of Taxation and Agribusiness Tandao, as well as being a director of Citigroup and the Magellan Flagship Fund. He's a former member of the Reserve Bank Board and former chairman of David Jones and Caltex Australia. Plenty to talk about. Dick Warburton, welcome to Late Line Business.
Thank you.
The new Gillard government is not for a big Australia. Should business be worried by that?
No, I don't believe so. I think that was probably more rhetoric than anything else to try and soften the blow that came about with the Rudd statement of let's be bigger.
And presumably take away the middle ground from the Liberals.
That's what I believe, because I think, look, you're going to get natural growth anyway, but this is I think a rhetorical statement to just calm things down a bit. So I see it more in that light than any particular. Well, there's no targets anyway.
You were reappointed as chair of the Board of Taxation. Now that is a body established to advise government on the development and implementation of taxation legislation. What were you saying to Kevin Rudd about the resource super profits tax?
Well, actually, I wasn't involved in that sort of taxation issues, but had I been involved, I would have said you needed to do the same consultation type work that we do in the Board of Taxation. We spent a lot of time consulting before we put out the recommendations for changes in legislation, and I think that's the biggest thing that they missed out on badly in the RSPT.
What should the Gillard government now do?
Well, they're going to have to compromise, and that was something, again, that I gather Rudd just couldn't do, but they will have to compromise. I think that she'll mention some form of compromise, then defer, perhaps until after the election, hose it all down, so that at least they can clear the air to get onto their policy discussions.
How can a compromise like that possibly avoid bringing down the forecast $3 billion and then $9 billion, which was to come from the tax?
Well, I don't think it can. No matter what you do, you're going to reduce that. And in fact, the conversations being had is that if it does, well, it means the rest of the package on the other side is going to be changed. But you can't change it. Whether you raise the hurdle or whether you lower the tax or whether you take it out of retrospectivity, you are going to have an effect on that $3 and that $9 billion. You must have it.
Another policy area that Julia Gillard as Prime Minister is reprioritising is climate change. She wants a carbon price, she says. Is there going to be certainty for business?
Well, I doubt it, because they've certainly deferred the ETS, and an alternative to ETS is carbon price. It's a carbon tax, and it's an alternative. Why would you bring it in if you're still debating whether you have an ETS or a carbon tax? I just don't believe that they will. I believe they'll focus much more on, let's say, the softer line of perhaps pollution control or renewable energy resources.
So in terms of any kind of trading scheme or how businesses are going to be working through that, it's still going to be unclear.
Well, the trading scheme, as far as I'm concerned, is dead for at least 3 years and probably beyond. The carbon tax may come in, but even then they're not going to announce a carbon tax for, I would say, at least a year or two. They might mention it's going to come, but that'll just create further uncertainty. I think you just say it's not on for the foreseeable future, and you look at the other key issues, which is renewable energy and pollution control.
Still on the environment, the BP spill. Now, you were chair of Caltex Australia. How do you think BP are handling this, and can they survive it?
Well, it's just a tragedy for BP, a tragedy for the people in the Gulf of Mexico. It's as big as, if not worse, than 9/11. And BP, of course, set themselves up over the past 5 to 10 years as the big clean company. And this, just in one shape, has just broken that completely. So it's harmed their brand, it's harmed their reputation immensely, let alone the financial problems that it's had.
Do you see the other big global multinationals circling?
Well, I believe they would, because I think already the prices come down considerably, but then again you're going to have this whole thing fixed in the Gulf of Mexico first. There may be a greater chance here and domestically with BP, with Caltex.
Another board you used to chair was David Jones. I think you actually put Mark McInnes in the job in 2002 as chief executive. What sort of setback was his departure, and have David Jones done the right thing to address the problem?
Well, I don't think the setback would be great because the brand is so strong and the brand is way above the man. I think the board acted extremely well, extremely quickly on a matter which is just, it's sad to see that the person just deviated from the proper conduct so badly that he had to go so quickly, because he definitely did an extremely good job with David Jones. But I think the speed with which the board reacted means that the brand won't be affected very much, I don't believe.
Yet another chair that you now hold is of a company that's one of the largest water holders in Australia, Tandau, that's listed on the ASX. Now, they've just rejected, or you've just rejected, an offer from GPG. Are you surprised that a company like GPG is sniffing around like this?
Well, I'm not surprised because, of course, they were a 19% shareholder and they believed they just wanted to take it to another level. But their offer was just completely nonsensical and didn't get very far. In fact, over the, 9 months now since the offer's been on the table, they only collected another 2 or 3% shares. So the public wasn't buying their particular request for the purchase. And so they've eventually decided to close it down. I can see what they're after. They would have liked to have got their hands on the potentially much higher value that's in the company, the net tangible assets in the company, and they would have liked to have got their hands on it for a very cheap price. Well, they didn't get that. The
net tangible assets of the company or the water licences, because they're slightly different things, aren't they?
Well, not totally, because it's the value of those water licences so high that's not reflected in the share price at the moment. In fact, we're running at around about probably a 50% discount to that value of the water if you added that in to the value of the company. Now
that you've got the water coming down to Menindee Lakes, do you believe you're going to start seeing that share price ticking back up?
Well, I think so. It's not just the water coming down and allowing us to grow crops, because we've already announced that we're going into a different mode. We will certainly grow crops, but we'll also look very heavily into what we class as water trading, possibly the wrong term, but the ability to be able to buy allocations from other areas and resell them as a business proposition. And we've already done a bit of that, and in fact, for the last 2 or 3 years, had we not done that, we would have gone under.
Is this a sign of the times that a company like Tandau is putting such a priority into water as an asset as opposed to agriculture?
Well, I believe so, because first up, water is going to, it's a resource that is not going to get any more available, so there's going to be more and more people requiring it, and we believe that we can be a player in that particular field because we've got a lot of experience in that area.
Dick Warburton, thanks very much for talking with us.
Thank you, Ticky.